Hi, I'm Ashley and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the beginning of the year book tag, which was created by Larry Reads. I'll link her channel down below. And this tag consists of 18 questions that will give you an idea of what my reading year is going to be like. So question number 1, how many books are you planning on reading in 2025? I'm setting a goal of 50 books, which is pretty much the goal that I set for every year, because ultimately I just read for fun, so however many I read is how many I read. But usually I read about a book a week, and so that equals around 48 books, and then usually there are some months where I read more than 4 books. Question number 2, a book you're likely to reread this year. So for this one, From Blood and Ash, because the new book in this series, which is the second to last book, comes out this June. And so I want to reread the series because I want a refresher, and also it's one of my favorite series, so any excuse I can have to reread it, I shall take it. And the only thing I'm worried about is finding the time to do this reread, since there's just so many books I want to get to this year. I'm going to try to make it work. So question number 3, a priority read on your 2025 TBR. So for this one, I'm saying Onyx Storm. And actually the time of filming this video, it is Onyx Storm release day. So I read Fourth Wing like when it first came out, loved it. And then Iron Flame sat on my shelf for like a year because I was afraid to pick it up. And I just recently read it. I finished it a couple days ago and I love this as much as Fourth Wing. So I'm like, why did I wait? It's because I got scared of all like the negative reviews I was seeing. I shouldn't have listened to them. But so now I'm like super excited for Onyx Storm. Question number 4, an author you won't be reading more books from this year. So I never want to say like I'm never going to read a book from a certain author again, because you just never know. There have been times when I've read one book by an author and it didn't quite click with me, but then I read a different book by them and I love it. So I never want to like rule out any author. So question number 5, something new you want to read, new genres or tropes. So for this one, I don't really want to branch out from what I read. I only have like a limited amount of time to read as it is. And I want to read stuff that I love. So I'm probably just going to be reading more YA fantasy, romantasy, fantasy romance, and cozy fantasy because that's the stuff that I love. But one thing I do want to do is read more manga this year. I only read manga from 4 different series last year. And so my plan this year is to use the library more, because manga is like one of those things that is kind of expensive to buy and it takes up so much room. So I think that getting them from the library is the way to go if I want to read more and check out different series. Question number 6, a popular book you want to read. So for this one, I have 2 different series. I really want to read the Divine Rivals duology this year because I still haven't read that and I know a lot of people love it. It's a duology that I've been wanting to pick up for a while now. And then the other one is the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts, because again, that one I've heard a lot of things about and so I want to check it out for myself. So question number 7, most anticipated 2025 book release. So I already talked about 2 of my most anticipated books for this year, and those were Onyx Storm and the new From Blood and Ash book. So let me talk about a different book that I am also pretty excited for. And that book is Firebird by Juliet Cross. So this one comes out April 8th and it is an adult fantasy romance book. And I'm not gonna lie, the cover and the edges are what drew it to me at first. And then I looked up the description after, and I'm excited because this one, our main male love interest, is a dragon shifter. And that's all I need to know for me to pick up this book. And I will read just like the last little paragraph of the description for this book. So it says, as they navigate a world where flying Death Riders conquer and burn, their love will ignite a firestorm that can only end in heartbreak or death or both. Moving on to question number 8, a bookish goal for 2025. I've already talked about one of them, which is read more manga, but another bookish goal I have is that I want to read more sequels this year. So I feel like I started a lot of series last year, but now I need to continue them. And so I'm going to make an effort to do that. And actually, I'm off to a good start because I've already read Iron Flame, so that's one series continued. But some of the others I want to continue are 5 Broken Blades. The sequel for this one just came out this month. I actually have it right here, so 4 Ruined Realms. I do plan to read this soon. Also, the sequel for Heartless Hunter, Rebel Witch, comes out really soon. I will also be reading that. And then there's also some older series that I want to continue as well. such as This Vicious Grace. So this is only a duology, and I actually really love this, but I still have yet to read the sequel, which is This Cursed Life. So I really want to get to this one this year. Question number 9. A book that's been on your TBR that you probably won't ever read. So I don't really have a book that I think I'm never going to read, but let's talk about a book that has been on my bookshelf for a very long time, and I'm calling myself out in this video, and I'm giving myself an ultimatum. I need to read this year or I have to get rid of it. And so this book is also a very popular book, so I think one of the reasons I haven't picked it up yet is because I'm afraid to be disappointed. And that book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I need to read this year or I'm going to have to unhaul it. So question number 10, a series you want to read this year. So I already mentioned a few, but I'm going to mention one that I haven't talked about yet, and that is this duology, A Magic Steeped in Poison. So I already own these, so I really want to read them this year. And I am really interested in them because they sound really interesting because they have tea magic in them, and I think the only reason I haven't read them yet is because I keep getting distracted by new releases, so I really need to make an effort to read these. Question 11. Your auto-buy authors going into 2025. One of those authors is Anne Craig. She writes YA fantasy that has a bit of horror to it, and she's the only author that I've read with that kind of fantasy with horror that really clicks with me. But there's just something about her books where, yes, there is that horror element, but there also is just something about them that ends up being super heartwarming, and usually they have like the sweetest romance in them too. Question number 12. A book to show adaptation you're excited about this year. So this one I don't really have an answer because I'm really bad at paying attention to that stuff. And so I really only hear about them if I'm watching like a Booktube video and someone else is talking about it, or my cousin tells me. Which, my cousin did tell me that Fourth Wing will be getting a TV show, but who knows if that will like actually happen, so that's still far, far in the future if it does. But that's something that I would be interested in, but it's not coming out this year. So question number 13 is a sequel you're anticipating. So I already talked about some sequels I'm looking forward to, but let me mention one that I haven't mentioned yet. And that's a sequel to The Wren in the Holly Library, which is The Robin on the Oak Throne, which comes out on June 17th. So this is a fantasy romance that I read last year that I very much enjoyed, and I do have a full reading vlog on this book. If you are interested, I will link that down below. Question number 14, bookish things you're leaving in 2024. So for this one, my answer is over planning, and by that I mean like I try to stuff too much into like a week or a period of time. Like during spooky season, I try to read too many books because there's all these like spooky season books I want to read, and then I just end up not getting to all of them, and some of them I buy and then they sit unread on my bookshelf. And so I think I just need to be better about prioritizing my reads and being more realistic and being like, okay, I know I usually read one book per a week, maybe more if I have extra time off from work or something. So I just want to be more realistic in like my weekly reading goals and my weekly bookish goals this year. Question 15, what to expect from this account. So more reading vlogs focusing on YA fantasy books. I do want to do like more new release YA fantasy book vlogs like I did last year. More fantasy romance reading vlogs, more cozy fantasy reading vlogs, and in general a lot of reading vlogs because that's my favorite type of content to film. And I also do want to try doing a 24-hour reading vlog, but to do that I have to do it like during a week that I'm off from work because it just won't work with like my everyday life. But in addition to reading vlogs, there'll also be my monthly releases videos, and I'm also want to try to do some other videos in between reading vlogs, like tags like this. Question 16, how has your reading evolved from last year? It really hasn't. I still read like the same things. I just read what I love, which is YA fantasy, fantasy romance, and cozy fantasy, and that's what I'll continue to read this year. Question number 17, Booktube creators who inspire you. So Katie is reading because I just love her reading blogs and how aesthetic they are, and she just inspires me to make my reading vlogs better. And then Olivia reads a latte because I just find her vlogs very comforting to watch. And if I've had a bad day, I'll go home and put on an Olivia vlog and instantly feel better. And then third, Emmy from Emmy Rossum. I just love her videos, and I especially love her 24-hour reading vlog videos. And her reading vlogs are inspiring me to want to try to do my own 24-hour reading vlog this year. So I will link all of them down below if you want to check out their channels, but I'm sure a lot of people already know about them. Question number 18, which is the final question, and is something you want to say to anyone wanting to start a Bookish account. So for this, my number one advice, just start. I really wish I had started earlier, so I remember like watching Booktube and being like, oh, I can't do that because I'm too much of an introvert. But then a couple years later, I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to try. But even after having that thought, I still like waited another couple years before I actually started, because I'm like a big like planner. I like to plan things out. But sometimes you just need to do it, because there's just certain things that you learn to do as you do it. And I feel like your first video you make isn't going to be very good, but you'll get better with time. So just start. So those are all the questions that are a part of this tag. If you've made it to this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!